Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith, I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom. And today I'm bringing a fun fold flat pillar card that I thought would be great fun to give to someone, and a way of using the new Brewed for You for something a little bit more feminine rather than just the beers. So Brewed for You here, great beer glasses, and this one that I thought, yes, whilst it's a kind of an ale glass, is also could easily be turned into a wine glass, as you can see here, particularly when you pop it with the kind of wine bottle that's in bottled happiness. So that's what I've kind of come up with. Great thing about this card, it folds flat, as you can see there. Hopefully you can see the shine on those glasses and bottles. And it fits into a standard medium envelope, as you can see here, just pops in flat. It's got a little bit of dimension to it, so you might want to, you might need to put it through as a large letter, depending on where you are in the world. But I just thought it was a great one to use. And I've used another of my favourites at the moment, which is the Texture Chic paper, which is in the annual catalogue. It's 12 by 12 paper, and on the one side it's got this beautiful gold foiling, and then some lovely sort of patterns on the reverse. Go with so many sweets. It's almost a wood grain on the back there. Again, a kind of trellis, lovely florals. The deep green is probably my least favourite. Snowflakes on the back. I love this one. Got some super colours in there as well. That's sort of evening evergreen. This has actually got a bit of mango melody in it, petal pink. Got some pool party in there as well, some sort of the lighter green on some of those is sort of soft succulent on here, and then a bit of soft suede as well for a brown tone. But I thought it would be rather fun to make some wine themed glasses. A lot of my friends rather like wine. So that's our card. On the reverse it just stands up, as you can see there, with a couple of pillars, and then I've just stamped on the back there as well. So other things I've used my stylish shapes. So these are fantastic shapes. They're the ones on the left here that you can see, circles, squares and banners. I haven't used the banners for these. I decided I was just going to use the my banner punch, because I decided I wanted to have that sort of slightly narrower one as well. But maybe we'll use the banner punch. Hey, you know, yeah, I might do. But I could have used the banner punch, actually thinking about it now, but I didn't. So yeah, really easy card to make. As with all my fun folds, I try and make them nice and easy for you, so that you've got you know, confidence in being able to use them, because they're really, fancy folds really are not difficult. So the ones I'm using, I should have said, the stylish shapes in the squares, they are the number 2 and number 3. So I always count from the middle outwards, so that's 1 being my smallest, so it's 2 and 3 that I'm using. You're going to need a few bits of me. So I thought, I've done white wine, so we need to do red wine. And that's one of my dies hitting the floor. Okay, so I'm going to use a bit of Merry Merlot for this. Even though it's a deeper shade, I still think it's going to work quite well, because obviously it's kind of hidden on the back, but it'll pick out the colour of that red wine. So that's 14.5 by 10.5. I have done this in inches as well, and it works with US cardstock as well. So that's the kind of, I've then got some of the DSP, which is exactly the same, 14.5 by 10.5. I've got a piece of basic white that is for my reverse, so that is 14 by 10. I've got some scraps of basic white which I'm going to want to use, and I've got a second piece of DSP, and then I'm going to use this one for the front, and this is 11 by 10 centimetres, and that just gives that sort of little border. I was going to do it without a border, but I wanted it without a border for this, because that pillar is going right up to the edge, but I thought it actually looked a bit better with a border there. Okay, so other things you'll need, you're going to need a Stampin' Pierce mat as well, because you're going to want to get a really good impression, particularly with that solid infill, and with the bottle as well. Okay, so I've got my Merry Merlot here, And I've got some Pear Pizzazz for my bottle. So I'm going to do that one first, because I'm going to do... Here's my bottle. And just pop that there. I'm also going to stamp that on my large piece on the back. This is to go on the back left. I haven't done a very good impression there, but actually I can fill that in. That's not going to matter too much. And I'm going to grab my envelope and stamp my envelope at the same time. I often forget to do this on camera, but I usually add a little bit of detail to the envelope. There we go. So my envelope is done. That can go to one side. There's the back of my card. So now I'm going to grab my outline and my basic grey. I didn't want to go for black. I'm not colouring with alcohol marker, so it doesn't matter. But I did want something that was kind of glass. And so I thought the basic grey just gives us a slightly lighter effect there. So I'm just going to do sort of 3 of these, a couple of these glasses actually. I might do a third one, just so that I've got a spare. And I'm going to use the Merry Merlot to infill those. So I'm kind of standing up and over, just looking down on those. There's a couple of things here that if like one of those hasn't stamped as well as I might have liked. So there's a couple of things you can do to kind of correct that. So first thing, you can take your blender pen. Grab your blender pen. Obviously make sure, you can see I've used that for a bit of green there. Scribble it till it's clear. Let me try the other end. And you can just take a little bit and just fill that in. Like so. And you can always just use a blender pen to kind of add a little bit of detail. Other things you can do is you can come in with a pencil. And this one's actually Rich Raspberry. And this is sort of the technique that sort of is around and about at the moment. Jay Soriano of Mitozu Crafts kind of shared this, and a lot of people have kind of taken it on board. Just adding a bit of watercolour pencil to add a little bit of extra texture and detail. A blender pen, you know, likewise, so you can use this one's out of the, I think it's set 1, it's the Rich Raspberry one anyway. So either of those techniques will help you to cover up any blemishes that you might have encountered while you were stamping. I'm going to pop my ink pads away. I say this every time, but it's very easy for me to get in quite a mess with those. Okay. I did say I was going to sort of, again, so the same thing with this in terms of, you know, this is where you can just blend that a little bit more. And as it happens, it's kind of like the light hitting it. So it's, yeah, it doesn't matter too much on that one. So that's my back panel. These are the ones I'm going to die cut. And before I do that, I'm just going to use my latest favourite technique for getting glass effect, which is good old packing tape. So I'm just going to pop some over that bottle there. Let's move that out of the way now. And that's very sticky. My scissors obviously need a good clean. Just going to take that. You can wrap that around the edge, no problem. And then I'm just going to pop some more over these 2 glasses here. If you keep the tension on that tape, you'll find it works better. and then the last little bit over this one here. Okay, so I've got a couple of bits there where it hasn't quite gone as flat as I might like, so I'm just going to sort of burnish those out. It's a bit like putting new screens on your phone, isn't it? You always sort of get bubbles and things. So just go in and cut those bits off. Get those out of the way. Okay. So once you've done that, all you need to do then is we're going to die cut these glasses, and the Bottled with Happiness comes with a coordinating punch. So that is really easy, just to come in and simply punch that out. So there's our first one. And then we can go ahead and die cut these two glasses. So let's get that done. I've die cut those, and I've got an extra one as well. I'm going to actually do the construction part of our card. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to carry on using my, I might actually use the Merry Merlot. Do you know what? I haven't actually decided which I was going to use, but you know what? Okay, let's go for it. So, as I said, I've already cut a piece here, which is for the background, or the main part of the card, which is 14.5 by 10.5. So now I want to create that front section. So I want a piece, again, that's 10.5, so the same height. And I'm just going to trim that down to 22.5 centimetres. Okay, now scoring wise, really easy because it's just straight scoring. We've got 1, 2.5, 4, so this is every 1.5 centimetres to start off with, 5.5. Then you're going to come across and you're going to do, you could either flip it and do the same, but you can do 17, 18.5, 20 and 21.5. Now if you're working in inches, that would be a half, 1 1/8, 1 3/4, 2 3/8, 6 7/8, 8 1/8 and 8 3/4, and your piece would be 9 1/4. If you're in the US, you'd probably want to make it 4 1/4. If you're in the UK, 4 1/8. Just adjust the size of your DSP accordingly. We're going to really burnish these score lines well, and again, always lining up on the side edges there to make sure they are nice and straight. Gives you a chance to correct it before you burnish it. The same again here. Now the next bit is kind of probably the trickiest bit. It's not really so tricky, it just takes a little bit of attention to it. So what you're going to do is you're going to add your DSP to that front centre section first of all. Okay, so we're adding that, obviously with that border. Oh no, actually I haven't done the border on that. Right, so if I've done something like that, how do I make sure I'm going to literally just scrape the glue off 2 edges there, because I want this DSP to be 11 by 10. So I'm just trimming that 1/2 centimetre off. So I can pop some more glue back on there. And that's just a way, say, correct it as you go along. So add that to the front of your card. So you get that just narrow border around, which I think is going to work well with it. Now this is the bit where what you're going to need to do is work out where you're going to glue those pieces down. So you can see here, I'm folding the end piece in, because that's what we're going to glue that in place, and then it's on this score line here. So it's the 3rd score line is where that's going to fold in. So you get 2 panels. And then you want to line up your largest die, and you will need to grab yourself a piece of post-it note or a bit of tape, a bit of masking tape, and you're going to line your die up, making sure that it doesn't go over where that piece is going to glue. So I've just literally eyeballing it here. I've kind of coming down about 3/4 of an inch probably, and about 1/4 inch across. And I'm going to just pop that there, and I'm adding that to the centre just in case it catches, and then I'm just going to lay that over the top just to make sure that that's going to work to create my kind of double aperture, which it is. That's going to be fine. Obviously I'm not going to use that just now. Now when you put it through your die cutting machine, you're going to want to open that out. You don't want any extra creases, and that will just about fit in on the length of your piece of Perspex that's in your machine. So when you put that through, you're not going to add anything, you're not going to create any extra creases, and that should just pop out. If it doesn't, pop it back through with a at a slightly different angle if you can, or just put it through with an extra piece of card across the top to add a bit of a shim, a bit of pressure. So once we've done that, we're going to do our next one. So again, just do the same again. I'm folding it under and kind of looking at where that piece lines up, and then make it so that it actually I just thought it was just nice to have something a little bit different to a standard aperture. You know, we do circles, we do squares, you know, we do have some fancy shapes, but sometimes it's quite nice to do a little bit more with our dies. So there we go. That's not as straight as it might be on there, but you know what? After a couple of drinks, who's going to notice? So now we can finish off creating. So this piece is what you're going to see through the aperture of the card, and you're going to see it on the sides as well. So I'm just going to layer that onto the front of my card. Again, using a bit of Tombow, because then I can just make sure that that is lined up nicely. I can add my layer to the back. Like so. And then the first thing I'm going to do is actually glue these side pieces in. So if you want, you could use tear and tape. I always say when I'm doing something like this, I do find that Tombow tends to be my go-to, because it just gives you a little bit of wriggle room. And if ever you get any bits of glue oozing, just take a scrap of card. And we've all got literally little bits and pieces, and just scooch that away. And do the same on the other side. That's because it's a fairly new Tombow, so it's quite full up. So I'm just gonna drag that on the edge. And if you've got any dry, if you haven't got a glue eraser, a bit of talc, a bit of embossing powder dispenser will just make sure that you're not having any issues with your card afterwards. So that's then going to pop up to make our little frame. Hopefully you can see that. And so what we want to do now is position that and work out where our other elements are going to go. So I did it by popping my just laying that up and popping the wine bottle where I wanted it to be. Just use a erasable marker on that. And I'm not using dimensionals on this because it's a fold flat card. You don't want to add anything that's going to create any extra bulk on there. So all I'm going to do is just pop that bottle in and just cover up that little mark. Add one of my glasses. Nice bottle, Merry Merlot, of course. Nice glass of Merlot going in there. And you can overlap that slightly. And then we're going to also pop one on the front here. So we're just going to pop it down this, as you turn it over, this left hand edge. And then again, we're just adding some dimension. Now you could put that on dimensionals if you wanted to, but I don't think it's needed on this. I think there's enough dimension with that pop up front. And the next bit, in terms of getting it lined up, you're going to fold your card flat to one side. That's how it's going to go in an envelope. And on this card, that works to give you your layer, exact positioning for your layer. So you're going to put adhesive on this panel and this panel. Again, preferred adhesive, up to you entirely. It all depends how accurate you are with something like Seal Plus. I wouldn't use tear and tape with it because it's a moving part. That's just my own personal preference. And then I'm just going to lay this outside line up this outside edge first before I press down on both of those. And now, while that's drying, I did decide to cut a couple of those labels afterwards, so I'm going to come in with some, yeah, I'm going to use the Merry Merlot. I'm hoping that this will just work with this particular I haven't tried it, and if it doesn't, then do you know what? Not a problem, because we'll use something else. So I've just die cut two of those labels from the Stylish Shapes, inking up my banner, and I'm just doing it right to the right hand edge. And that fits perfectly. Good to know. I'm turning that over and adding some adhesive to the back and using that little banner. And I think that's just going to add a little detail that just is going to finish that card off really well. Just to pop that in the middle there. And that actually, I actually prefer that to my original. Just trimming off the end of that banner because I want it to fit flush to the edge of my card. And pop some adhesive. Again, you could pop that up on dimensionals if you want to. I just love the sentiment on this. Still a little, that's the downside of using wet glue. I'm going to pop that. So there you have our fun pillar fold card using Brewed for You to make wine glasses, and a couple of really fun cards that I'm sure anybody would be happy to receive that fold flat, as always, to go into an envelope. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to purchase any of the products you've seen today, do pop along to my shop at flutterbyheidi.co.uk or follow the links in the description box. There's a little pointy arrow just in the corner here underneath on YouTube. Click on that. You'll not only find links to the items, you'll also find the dimensions on there, or dimensions are on my blog in both inches and centimetres, because I've just realised I haven't given you all of the inches ones as I've been talking. Hey, hopefully you'll find them, and I'll come back and see me again soon. And please, if you can, hit the subscribe button and ring and that notification bell as well. Thanks for watching. Bye now.